I don't know what's up on my Facebook. I try to put it on my Facebook also, and we're live, by the way.
Okay.
And I don't know. It said I wasn't able to stream it.
Uh-oh. Well, at least we're not in the dark like last night.
Oh, definitely not. Actually, last night when I was had that interview, me and I actually a car wreck down right down the road, and it knocked my power out.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Not
so
like an interview in
it
the
was
dark.
crazy.
Hmm.
I know I couldn't see nothing. I mean, that just threw me off big time.
It's all
It
good.
did. So okay, so welcome to the short bus. Strap your
Well,
helmet on.
thank
This is a
you.
strap your helmet on, and this should be a good one. Uh we got um Southern Belle from BAP, Backers Against Spreads, and I think she's awesome. Anytime I've talked to her, you're like super awesome,
Oh, thank you.
definitely.
Try to be.
And other
It's
people,
nice.
oh go, I was gonna say other people have also said you're like super sweet and everything too.
Thank you. It's nice to finally have somebody else on the other end that sounds like me a little bit, so that's good. Oh,
Um,
I really appreciate you letting me join.
oh no, I appreciate. Oh, just let me say something. I'll definitely get you that mod. I'll just have to do it after the live. I just wanted to somebody message me, and I've been
Oh,
meaning to
you
mod the person. They just happened to message me, and I saw it.
it's all
So
good.
so welcome to the short bus.
Thank you for having me. I was a little nervous, but I'm glad I pulled through and made it.
Oh, by the way,
Uh-huh.
Mandy's told me to tell you hi.
Oh yeah, we go way back, like a
Yeah,
whole 2 weeks
Mandy's
ago.
awesome.
Yeah, I love her. She's awesome. Amanda, right?
Yes, 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 definitely. She's awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I'm from Indiana, like a lot of the folks with BAP. I started out about, I guess, a little over 2 years ago um, as a decoy. I had been watching a couple other catcher groups and kind of got interested in it. And as a mom, I was just curious, really, you know, how it would be if I went on to an app. So I tried it for the first time, and I went on to a teen app that was for 13 to 19-year-olds. Um, I was my own photo decoy, and I'm not a young woman. I'm in my 40s. So took pictures of myself and used an app to change my facial features and make me look younger. And my first exposure was actually with Chris from last night from Epic. Um, and I was the live decoy. It was one of the few times I went live in person in front of the Preds, and it was real. Let's just say that it was a little scary. But that man drove. He drove from Cincinnati, Ohio, to Southern Indiana, 9 o'clock at a park in the dark, and I was wearing my little girl's sequin unicorn backpack, waiting on him to get there, and it was something else. He planned on taking the decoy, who he thought was 13, back to Ohio, across the river to the warehouse he worked at, for obvious reasons. And when we approached his vehicle, he was in a white van, which was, kind of reminded me of the ice cream truck man. And he had a 9 millimeter on his dashboard. And ironically enough, when the police got there, they gave us more hell than they gave him. They let him walk, and ironically, this guy's name was Christopher Michael. And just about, I don't know, a month ago or so, we got a message that he actually was arrested for soliciting a real 15-year-old.
Wow.
So it all came back real, full circle. Um, Made
I
me a
actually
little
have a
angry. Mhm. Go ahead.
I actually have a real quick a chat question.
Yeah.
It's from Ben. He says, what kind of bike do you ride?
Oh, I ride one with training wheels. No, I don't. I'm not a biker. Uh, I'll go back to college. I rode on the back of a bicycle or motorcycle a couple times in college when I lived in Lexington, and that was back when the boys, tried to scare the shit out of you when you were In college, we went on a back road in the country on gravel. And that was one of the first and last times I ever got on a motorcycle. So I'm far from a biker, but yeah, I'll stick to walking on my feet.
Oh, Dave, I say I don't ride a bike either, so it's
No.
it's kind of like I'd like to, but I've never had.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like my face on pavement too much. I'd rather not. I'll leave
Oh,
that up to
does
Boots.
oh so does Boots actually ride a bike?
Yeah, he's got a red one.
Uh,
Yep. And he goes to some of the, biker conventions and things like that. But I think when everybody hears, bikers against predators, they think that we're a bunch of, I don't know, vigilantes, like they want to say in different places. We're a bunch of people that are going to come start a bunch of stuff. Honestly, every single person on that team is like family, and some of the nicest people you'd ever meet. They give you the shirt off their back. Um,
oh,
and
like I was saying earlier, anytime I've ever talked to any of the team members of Batman, everybody is super nice and super
mhm,
cool, and
yeah.
so they was wondering, are you a member of a biker gang?
No, sir, I'm not. I've got kids in elementary school and I work a full time job, so nothing fancy or elaborate for me, really. But yeah, I do get to see a lot of things that I'd rather not see being a decoy, but it's rewarding. The end result is rewarding. So,
Definitely, Bella. There's I thought his wife was young and he got put in the psych ward hold for 72 hours.
who's that?
I don't listen at Bella. I thought his wife was young and he got put in the psych ward for 72 hours. I
Oh,
don't know what
I'm not sure who
I
they're talking about.
I don't know either. But go ahead. Let's get back on track. So
That's all right.
so how many times have you actually live person decoyed?
Oh goodness. About 5 times. The first guy was with Christopher Michael, I told you about. Um, the the second time was probably the craziest live I've ever been on. It was I decided that I wanted to make a male decoy, and so I had a adult friend that was kind of petite in stature, and I asked him if I could use his photos to turn him into a boy. And I got on Grinder, and if you aren't familiar with that site, it's pretty colorful. And you see, just they don't say hello on Grinder; they just send you pictures straight up. And this guy was he thought he was talking to a 15-year-old boy. We actually had a couple men that we met up with, but one in particular was a registered sex offender, lifetime registered sex offender. He had sodomized a 4-year-old boy. And one of the things I try to do as a decoy is find out as much as I can about the person's past
Mm-hmm.
for a couple reasons. If they have a history of violence or things like that, you want to be aware of it for the safety of your team. And also you can tell you a lot about a person when you try to pull up the record. Um, Thank you, Opal. I
Yeah.
love her. So this guy came. Believe it or not, he was one of two preachers that we caught. He wasn't a preacher. He was a youth pastor, I should say, out of Kentucky, and he drove to Southern Indiana to meet this child at a JC food store. Unfortunately, they let him walk too. The area I live in Southern Indiana, the prosecutor does not really want to take cases that are not led by police officials. And, I did, though, on the Christopher Michael case and that gentleman, I reached out to the families and let them know what was going on. And I can tell you the reasons why I do that because there's definitely a reason why I do that. But the probably the craziest catch I was ever on was a guy that lived in a trailer park, and he was waiting outside for Chris and I got out of the vehicle, and he was thinking he was meeting two boys, and here me and Chris Abercrombie got out of the car, and he didn't know what to think, and his mom came out raising hell, asking why we were there, and I don't know if you ever watched a bull, like charge at a guy with the red flag,
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. So this guy thought it was a good idea. I think once he realized that he wasn't going to have a little boy that night, he charged up against his mama's trailer with his head twice as hard as she could. And I'll never forget that live still on his page where she's giving him crap saying, "You're going to break my damn windows out of my trailer." And they did take him to jail. So it was pretty crazy. I got a little too close a couple times, and Chris was very careful about, telling me to get back. And that was about that was the only time I really got out of a vehicle on a live. I've been to a couple of the exposures, but I stayed in my vehicle just for safety reasons.
I know. I mean, so when you do actually go on the exposure,
Hmm.
does I got a donation. Thank you, Bikers Against Predators. Um,
Oh,
are you a tranny?
me?
Yes.
No, sir. No, I'm not. I'm not a prude by any means, but I'm not a tranny. No. I
Okay.
mean,
I
I
just
am if I'm on Grinder, I can be whatever they want me to be on there. I'm a decoy, I guess.
the grinder thing. I think I went on a catch with Alex.
Uh-huh.
We did wasn't able to catch the guy, and at the time we was looking for him, and
Hmm.
actually political camper, and
Hmm.
and he had me download grinder, and I messed that all up, man. I put the wrong birth month, and
Hmm.
it put me at like 17 instead of 18, and it
Banned you. Did it ban you forever?
I guess I don't know. I haven't really messed with it since. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
Ralph says happy birthday, short bus. Thank
It's always his birthday, and I'm gonna always be happy when it's his birthday. Um, if I can, short bus, I know I've shared this with you, but kind of like to share what happened to me in my life that got me to where I'm at right now.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
so, it's not a sob story. I call it my comeback story. We can either be, victims or victorious, but, and I was from a broken home very early and unfortunately became a victim to rape at the age of 12, which, as a young girl living with just her mom and not a father around, it did, shape me in my youth. Made a lot of bad choices and things that, if I could do it over, I would. But later in life, obviously, I found my way and I decided I was going to, just go to college and do all the things that I had never seen my mother do. She always depended on men in her life, and they were men in and out of our home all the time. Um, so I ended up going through a real bad depression at one point, and ironically, I was about 17, almost 18. Went to a doctor for that, and he said some rather, let's just say, unprofessional things to me on several occasions. And back then, I was too young to know what grooming was, but I just knew there was something not right about what he was saying.
Are
And
you talking about the psychiatrist?
yes, sir, yes, sir. I was about 17, and I went to the psychiatrist in Louisville, Kentucky. His name was Warren Cox, and I saw him for probably, I don't know, 6 months or more. And last couple of visits I went in, he just started. Every doctor asks you, you have any issues with your medication? Are you extra hungry? You gaining weight? You not being able to sleep? And he just kept wanting to talk about sexual problems. I was 17. I didn't want to talk about that. This man was 60. So I just kind of shuffled over it and was like, get me out of here. And he said some really inappropriate things that I won't say on here. But obviously, I was very embarrassed, never went back. And I reached out and talked to the psychologist there and wrote a very lengthy email to the board of physician medical board, and that would be about 1994, I guess, thereabouts. And they basically just looked at me like I was somebody that, oh, you're just going through depression because your parents got divorced and it's just in your head, whatever. Well, fast forward about 20 years later, I'm in healthcare, and do you know that man? He lost his license to practice medicine, and he's dealing with people that are going through psychological problems that need someone they can trust.
Mm.
And I very much did trust that man, until he breached my boundaries, and he
Definitely.
lost his license, um, because he actually was intimate in his office with about five different young women.
Wow.
So, uh, you know,
What?
mhm.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I was listening.
No, it's okay. So, I kind of got my I told you so, but I was pretty mad because, it was 15, 20 years later. And I was thinking, God, if somebody would have just listened to me and listen to what I said and believe me, it could have been prevented, and nobody would. So,
Because he
um,
was a doctor.
yeah. And they just thought, she's just some depressed 17-year-old girl. She just took something the wrong way. And I wasn't being overly sensitive. He really was trying to groom me. Um, so I found about 230 pages of court records in great detail of the things he did to these young ladies that were, um, God, 24 and younger in his office. So
Wow. Now,
just
do you know
just
if he went after any like how old would you have to be to even go to a psychiatrist like that? You
I
said
think,
you was
well, he wasn't a child psychiatrist or anything. I was, a senior in high school, so he would have been seeing, people around this age of 18. I know one of the victims was a school teacher that was 23. I'll never forget that, just because of the things that had happened in there. But it just stuck with me. Um, so I've kind of always had a passion for just like speaking out if something doesn't feel right. Tell somebody. Um, and I haven't always made the best choices in my life. And we'll go to the next little chapter. We'll make this one a fast one, but I uh, I waited until I was in my mid 30s to get married, and you know, I was raised pretty Christian. And I wanted to marry the right guy, and seen my parents had both been married and divorced 5 times between each of them. So I didn't really see a whole, a big reason to get married. It was just a piece of paper. But I finally met what I thought was my knight in shining armor, and didn't quite turn out that way. I did have two beautiful children that I'm very, very proud of. They're now 10 and 11. But after about 4 years of marriage, I realized that my marriage was a lie. He had two children out of wedlock prior to me that I never knew existed. He was physically and emotionally abusive to me. Um, and I escaped one day just to a women's shelter with my two babies in diapers. I said I was going to my mama's house, and I never came back. When I say I left everything behind short bus, I left everything but a couple suitcases. And
mm,
I just knew that that wasn't the life that I wanted for my kids. And 6 months later, 6 months to the day after I left him, I got a Facebook notification, and a family in another state, not about 2 or 3 hours from where we lived, um, they saw his Facebook page and they noticed I was tagged as his wife, and we had little kids. We had a son and daughter that were under 3, and he had been caught in a 13-year-old little girl's bedroom, and the
wow.
grandma found him having sex with their foster granddaughter. And
Mm.
so for me, that just changed the complete trajectory of my life. Um, I've always been a protective mama. I'm gonna make sure I'd never let my kids go through the things I went through as a child. And I made a pact with God that if I could get out safely in 2016 with my kids, that I would make sure I advocated for every woman and child that I ever came
Hmm.
across. And I think I've pretty much kept my word on that. So that's what makes me passionate about what I do. We've been 8 years free. We haven't seen or heard from him, and we've gotten everything back that we left behind, and we're healthy and nice home, and we're doing the good things. So
So you basically, after all that, I mean, you're out state, out decoying and going out and actually provide, helping people.
well, prior to me finding out about what he did, I had never decoyed. I started decoying about 6 years after 6 years after he was caught with a child. I got, I advocated a lot for women that were battered. and tried to help other women that had kiddos that needed, just encouragement. Being an older mom, I would run into a lot of 20-year-old girls that just did maybe have an older role model, and I was able to kind of tell them, look, it's not you. You don't have to believe all the lies that you're told. Thank you, guys. Love you too. They make you believe a lot of horrible things about yourself, and
Mm.
those words sometimes cut like knives. But I always say the devil's a liar, and he's not going to get me today. So tomorrow don't look good either, as far as I'm concerned. So I just kept on. I mean, my kids are what keep me going, and I don't have siblings. My mom is not in my life, and my father's dead. So I can truly tell you that Callie is like a sister to me, and that Bat family is my family. They have helped me through so many things, and I'm so grateful to be a part of that team. I always respected Boots and everyone in that organization before he ever even knew who I was. Um, but I'm just really blessed to be a part of that. And, I'm very proud of the catcher community as a whole. Um, the majority of us, I mean, have been victims. And I know most of us are all in it for the right reasons. We just don't want any child to ever go through the things we went through. Um,
That's
so,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, it's somebody said Opal actually said
Yeah,
it's the passion for the driving yeah, passion is driving force to help for sure.
absolutely.
Like
Uh,
it's Opal has so many good sayings. She's an awesome person.
Yeah, Opal and I have a lot of the same stories to tell. Not exact, but I mean, we've both been through a lot of the same things. She's a sweetheart. Um, and a lot of the teams, I don't communicate a ton with very many teams, but there's a handful of folks that I know I can trust. And I don't necessarily share secrets from, BAT necessarily, but, um, you know, Arizona Pred Prevention, occasionally I reach out and be like, hey, have you seen this guy? Um, for some reason, I kind of have a knack for being able to dig up people and find them online.
Mm.
So I might spend 3-4 hours, looking for somebody. And I know the redheaded guy they just got recently. I can't remember his name, but APP got a really nasty one. Agent Orange did the exposure, and I think Predator Poachers was involved with that. But Opal and I were instrumental in IDing him, so it's pretty
Was it
nice.
the redheaded guy? Does anybody
Yes,
know
sir.
who that was? I was trying to remember.
Opal can probably put his name in the chat.
Um, most of us care about the movement. It's so fucking hard to try and not bad dick for a minute. What? I don't.
Sorry, I don't even know what the hell that's.
Let me see. Hats off to Maggie Decoy too.
Yeah, there's a lot of great decoys out there.
Anytime, congratulations since Callie joined. Everyone has now. Have you? Do you have crabs?
oh, oh,
Oh wait.
Callie.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a running joke. We all have our little thing at BAP. So yeah, that's it. They give her crap about her love for pineapple pizza and yeah, crabs. But no, I don't think she really has crabs. But yeah, we just roll with it. She's
uh,
next on your list. You have got to interview her.
I
She's my
definitely
ride or
will.
die.
I definitely will. I've talked. I believe I've talked to.
Mhm.
I've talked to you. I think I've talked to Callie and Wills also. I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. There's so many people out that I have actually talked to that they all get jumbled in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's kind of weird how I got involved with BAP. I'd always watched, PCI, and I watched Bikers and Epic, and got involved with Epic. And we actually had a guy in common named William Frederick. And if Boots is watching, and I'm sure he is, he was catch number 8, number 59, and 212. He was caught a total of 4 times. And that guy was something else. So Chris went out with a Bikers Against Predators group. I was kind of solo at that point. I had taken a little bit of a break. And he finally, at the fourth exposure, did get arrested a while later. But I believe he's still behind bars at this point. Um, and then we had Brian Stutzman, 218. And then I think what really got me kind of in with the BAP team was I'm not sure if you've ever seen the catch that Boots talks about. He was the incest pred, is what we call him.
Mm.
And I
Well,
got to,
there's so
yeah,
many uh people out there that actually are into incest. I think I was watching a decoy channel the other day, and they was just talking about, oh, incest is good, and it's like, if your family wants to do that, I mean, people are straight sick when it comes to that.
yeah. I've got to hand it to Callie. She did phone calls with this guy for God, months. Um, I had seen him, and I actually finally had Boots's phone number, knew who he was. He knew who I was, and I saw Donnell Rosales on the app Meet 24, and he'd been chatting with my decoy, and obviously, he was, I believe he was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and so, I didn't have anybody to go out and get him. And I called Boots and I was like, please, you got to get this guy. He's disgusting. He's talking about having babies with a 13-year-old. He wants to have sex with the babies when they're, as soon as they're born, and just saying the most hideous things. And, so Boots was like, well, we'll check into him. And that was the fellow that Boots caught twice. He actually proposed to the live decoy he thought was 11 in the park. And then when he got arrested and they posted bond, I believe, he went to Virginia. So he's gotten caught twice, and he's hopefully going to go away for a really long time. All these guys are sick, but there are some that are just a different kind of evil, and he's one of them. He's one I'll never forget.
Actually, I had Dougie's asked. He said, "Thank you, Dougie. What was the sickest interaction you have experienced?"
Whew. Um, there's a guy I tracked for about 2 years ago. 2 years. His name was Curtis Dockweiler. He just got arrested. Um, this guy, 44-year-old guy. It was about 6 months before I knew who he was. He was the most careful pred I've ever dealt with. And he would go on Meet 24. He would add a profile, go by a different name and location each time. And every single time, first thing out of his mouth was, I'm really into young little girls.
Mm.
And then he'd post his picture. I'd already know it was him just by the way he was talking on the chat. And he would send videos of himself in Walmart bathrooms, pleasuring himself and talking about, things like following little girls into dressing rooms and touching them, or, following little girls into bathrooms. And, we had Boots went and looked for him a couple times. We thought he was in Akron, Ohio. We weren't far. But this went on for 2 years. And the part that made it really sick is this man has what's now a 2-year-old little girl. And
Wow.
it was really hard for me. Callie, she's helped me a lot because I was really torn by this guy. He shook me hard because he would talk about little kids all the time, about things that he was doing. And now you got to understand, when you're talking to these preds, they try to make you think, they normalize things. They'll say, oh yeah, all little girls send nude photographs of their, wee wee or whatever, vagina or whatever. And I'm like, oh, they do? Yeah, they normalize things. They want you to think it's okay. But this guy, I don't know how much of it was him grooming me and how much of it was truth. I think there was a lot more truth to it than what we'll know, or at least know now. But APP had him at one point. I know Big Country
Curtis.
did. Huh?
Curtis was his name.
Curtis Dockweiler, yeah. Um, so I got in touch with Bozeman, Montana um, police department, and they told me, it was about a year ago, they told me that he had gotten a ticket, and he had a Wyoming driver's license. So I called Wyoming State Police. They said, get a hold of the FBI. And I'm thinking, how exactly do I do that? So I filed something on a tip line with the FBI, and a guy got back with me, and He said, "Yeah, we'll be looking for him." And Callie sent in the zip files for me on December 22nd of 23. And months went by, and he was a regular on the app every day. But he got to where he trusted my decoy. He thought she was real, and so I got in touch with the folks in Akron, Ohio, a detective there, and come to find out his brother was a registered sex offender. He had illegal images of children. He was a RSO. So this detective put a warrant out for the brother because he was not living at the address he was registered to, and he was hoping he could have him kind of narc out his brother and let us know where he was at. And it must have worked because little did I know, but he was arrested March 11th in Ohio. And
Hmm.
but for whatever reason, he was extradited to Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and it's a
Hmm.
little bitty town in Kentucky. Um, and I will say this is where my passion for the families came in. Um, Watching that little girl grow up over the last 2 years and wondering if she was safe was one of the things that I struggled the most with. And once I knew he was in jail pending, he's got 4 counts of solicitation and another count of gross materials. Um, I reached out to the grandmother of the little girl, and her daughter's 30, and she's severely autistic and low functioning at that. And he had, taken her. She's not young, but in her mind, she's not as mature as a normal 30-year-old girl would be. She's a wonderful little mom, and they had no idea why he was arrested. The U.S. Marshals came and got him and took him, and that mama came and got her daughter and her grandbaby. So it's the last couple of weeks we've talked quite a bit, and they were just so grateful that somebody cared. I mean, we've laughed, we've cried together, and I gave them all the chats that I had where he would claim, and this is I didn't say this earlier, but it got to the point where he would tell me that he was taking photographs at his home in the
Wow.
very end. And I remember the first one I got, I almost threw up because there was a baby play mat on the floor in the bathroom. And he was
Wow.
telling me that his daughter was touching him and when he was doing things and putting her mouth on it. And I was like, oh my God. Um,
What do you think should happen to somebody like that?
I think they should be hanging from a tree, to be honest with you.
Do you think there could be anything worse done to them? Because you mess. I mean, with a baby. Come on now. That's
Yeah. People say, can you be rehabilitated? Everybody has a different opinion on that. I say if you castrated them and cut off their genitalia, they just use their fingers. I'm serious.
exactly. I
It's
agree
a,
with. I
I,
agree 100%.
yeah, I think they would just find another mechanism, kind of like guns. If it wasn't guns, they'd use knives. Um, there's something in somebody, and we're all a creature of our environment. I mean, when you're raised by an alcoholic, you either become one or you decide you're never going to be one. So these folks, I don't, doubt for 1 minute that maybe his family, he might have gone through some horrible trauma in his life for him and his brother both be sex offenders. But, you know, I know that man, if he doesn't have victims, I would be shocked. And I don't think there would be anything that would stop him,
Hmm.
truly.
So I mean, well, I was gonna ask. I meant to ask this before,
Sure.
but what apps do you use when you go? I mean, you don't have to say if you don't want to, but
No, it's
I was
cool.
wondering what apps do you use to where is the worst people to find? Like
Um,
Facebook, Telegram, or is it just all the same?
yeah. So, ironically, there are two apps that are kind of owned by the same company. Meet 24, Meet for You. It's part of Meet Me, also, I believe. Um, and then I've recently just got on Facebook, and I'm very lucky that I have a photo decoy now that she's 25, but she's had a Facebook page for forever. I mean, she's got pictures of her as a cheerleader in like sixth grade. So she looks like a baby. And I'm able to use her photos. She's a 25-year-old woman now, but these pictures are legit because she was a little girl. So I say I'm 10. Um, if you go to most sites like, you know, plentyoffish.com, 95%, 98% of those guys will probably say, you say I'm 15, they're like, I'm out of here. They'll block you. But these two apps, I don't care. You could say you were 5. If they thought you were old enough to hold a phone, they would do it. They are, I think it's really Chomo Central. I've only had in a year being on that app, maybe 5 people say no. And those 5 people were probably people that were already caught by another group. Seriously. They are there. They'll say, "What's your real age?" I'm into little girls, and they're from everywhere. It's a national thing. Like you might see people from Brazil, um, you know, anywhere you think of, all over the world. It's absolutely sickening.
I have a question for you. This is a little bit off subject, but do you think there's like pedos or predators that watch catchers, and even like even in my community or in Boots or Alex's or whoever's? Do you think they actually watch?
Absolutely, absolutely. The keep your friends close and your enemies closer thing. Um, I don't doubt that there are some. There's, I've often, and I won't say who, but I've often, said there's a particular catcher that I wonder is not catching just because they want to hide their own past. Um, so yeah, I do definitely think that they watch because I know I didn't look for catcher groups. It just it's like anything else on Facebook that comes across your screen. Um, so we're careful not to announce where we're going and who we're going to get, that kind of thing. But
What can you tell us about Mike Miller?
yeah,
Oh, I just had a message from
uh,
Amanda, and she said Mike Miller.
Mike Miller. Is that the guy on
He's
Facebook? I think that's what he's talking about. Um, I got on Facebook recently, and Boots has a couple of decoys on, or he has one decoy, and I know Callie and a few others do. If I went into my inbox right now, I try not to add folks that aren't in the United States because obviously we're not going to go to Russia or something. But um, I there are at least 6 or 7 guys texting right now. A lot of them won't go from Facebook to text. But when I say this girl's Facebook looks legitimate, it looks legitimate. Um, because I've got pictures of her, on swing sets at Kentucky Kingdom, on a school bus, in her cheerleading uniform, on her bed with her puppy dog. And she was a real kid when these photos were taken. And they're, as a mother of an 11-year-old girl, it scares the heck out of me because I say I'm 10. Um, but I mess with them. They'll say, uh, do you play with yourself? And I'm like, well, yeah, I play with myself every day. I'm an only child.
but but to him, he's thinking a different way.
Yeah. Or I'll say, do you have show me a picture of your, pee, and I'll send him a picture of my cat. I'm like, what do
Mm.
you mean? Um, we got a guy recently, actually, um, somebody that predator poachers had as well, and they about a week and a half ago exposed him, and he's still messaging. I won't say his name for obvious reasons, but he's still messaging several decoys right now, myself included, and he's 73. So yeah, I can't unsee him. He sent me videos. Ugh,
That's so gross.
it's absolutely disgusting. But
I'm sorry. I need to go ahead and end this. I
yeah,
got
you're good.
stuff coming up, but I promise. Will you come back up again and let's do this again?
Absolutely. You got to get Callie on here though. She's a hoot and she's awesome. She is so awesome. She taught me everything I know, really.
Oh,
So
definitely. I appreciate you coming up. Maybe next time we won't have to go into your story because this will be part one, and we can talk more
yeah.
about other stuff. You're like so easy to talk to, and just,
Thank you.
and I mean, you're an awesome person. The whole Bikers Against Predators are awesome.
So are you. I told you we wouldn't have no problem. We're like family already. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that watches us. All our followers are like family, and we really appreciate the support. So we'll take
Then
care. See you
Papa
soon.
Duke says he loves BAP and Short Bus along with all of you, y'all. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. We
but
got a
I
great,
appreciate it.
yeah, great catcher community out there. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a blessed one. Bye, y'all.
You too. I appreciate everybody for coming through and have to end this real quick. But I appreciate everybody, and we'll see if we can get more coming up. Everybody have a great evening, and I may be back tomorrow with another interview. I just don't know for sure yet. I appreciate everyone, everybody. Shut